They said Lake Oroton was beautiful before the whispers began. Back in 1987, a small town in northern Idaho decided to build a resort beside that lake. Tourists came from all over, drawn by its calm surface and misty mornings. But the locals warned them, never stay after sunset, because when night fell, the water didn't stay silent, it whispered. Not like the wind or frogs, but like voices, gasping, calling, crying. The first night it happened, a family staying in cabin heard someone outside calling their daughter's name. The father rushed out with a flashlight and found footprints leading straight into the lake, but no one came out. By morning, their daughter was gone. Divers searched for days, nothing. But then, a week later, the lake began bubbling near the same spot, and her favorite red ribbon floated to the surface. The family left town and never returned. People say Lake Oroton was once built over an old mining settlement that collapsed after a flood. Hundreds of workers drowned underground, trapped, clawing at the walls. They were never found. And now, when the fog settles low and the air gets still, people say the dead miners call out, mimicking voices of the living, trying to pull others down to join them. Last year, a YouTuber named Ryan Bell went there to film a paranormal vlog. His camera was found floating near the shore 2 days later. The footage was intact. The last 30 seconds showed Ryan standing by the lake, whispering, "Do you hear them too?" Then his body went still, and a hand rose from the water behind him. They never found him. And if you ever visit Lake Oroton, the locals will tell you, don't look into the water at night, because the reflection you see might not be yours. Subscribe and like, comment, and share. In the hills of West Virginia, there's a town that doesn't appear on most maps anymore. Its name was Ravens Hollow. Back in 1954, it was a peaceful mining town, families, children, a church at the center of it all. But one night, something happened that changed everything. A fire broke out in the main coal shaft beneath the town. No one knew how it started. The flames spread underground, feeding on coal veins that ran for miles. It was said the fire burned hotter than hell itself. Smoke began to seep through the ground, through floors, through wells, even through the cracks in people's walls. At first, they tried to fight it, but the fire wasn't normal. No matter how much water they used, it grew. Then the sickness began. People started coughing black dust. Birds fell from the sky. Children began waking up in the middle of the night, screaming about faces in the smoke. A mother claimed her son spoke to someone inside the walls, a miner, covered in ash, whispering that the fire wasn't burning coal, it was burning souls. Within months, Ravens Hollow was abandoned, or so they thought. Years later, a team of geologists came to study the land. They found melted tools, twisted fences, and houses half sunk into the earth. But one of them, Dr. Lee Turner, claimed to hear footsteps in the ash. He said at night, you could see shadows moving in the fog, carrying lamps like the old miners used to. He recorded it. The tape still exists. You can hear men coughing, metal clanging, and then a woman whispering, "You shouldn't be here." Dr. Turner vanished the next day. His car was found still running near the edge of the old mine. The seats were covered in soot, but there were handprints all over the windows. Some locals believe the fire beneath Ravens Hollow never stopped, that it's still burning today, miles underground, feeding off something far darker than coal. And if you go there, the air hums, like something breathing beneath your feet. Some say at night, the ground glows faint red, and if you listen closely, you can hear the miners still working, digging, coughing, begging to be remembered. Ravens Hollow, the town that never sleeps, because the dead beneath it never rest. Subscribe now. There's a small lake hidden deep in northern Wisconsin. Locals call it Whispering Lake, though on old maps, Its real name is Lake Claire. It's quiet, still, and surrounded by towering pine trees, the kind of place you'd think is peaceful. But if you stand there long enough, especially near midnight, you'll realize the silence isn't empty. It's listening. The story begins in 1979. A young couple, Eddie and Laura Hill, moved into a cabin near the lake. They were newly married, chasing a quiet life away from the noise of the city. Eddie loved fishing, and Laura loved painting the water's reflection. But soon, things started to feel off. One night, Laura woke up and found Eddie standing outside, staring at the lake. His eyes were wide, and his lips were moving, whispering back to something she couldn't see. When she shook him awake, he had no memory of leaving the bed. Days later, Eddie started talking about a voice in the water. He said it sounded like his late mother, soft, sad, and calling his name. Laura thought it was grief or stress, but she soon started hearing it too. Not during the day, only when the moon hit the lake just right. A whisper, faint, like it was rising from beneath the surface. One evening, Eddie went out fishing alone. He never came back. The next morning, his boat was found drifting in the middle of the lake. The line was tangled, the oars gone, and on the wooden seat, a wet handprint. Divers searched for days, but never found his body. Laura moved away a month later. She told the sheriff that every night after Eddie vanished, she heard him calling her name from the lake, begging her to come join him. Years later, in 1994, a documentary team visited Whispering Lake. They set up microphones near the shore to record nature sounds. When they played it back later that night, they heard something strange under the water noise, a voice whispering in reverse. When they reversed the audio, the voice said, "Don't look down." The team left immediately, but one of the cameramen returned a year later, determined to prove it was fake. He live-streamed from his boat, talking to the camera, until the feed cut out mid-sentence. All that remained of the footage was the sound of water, bubbling, and a single voice saying, "He heard me." No one ever saw him again. Today, locals say the lake is cursed. They say it takes those who listen too long. If you ever find yourself near Whispering Lake and hear a faint voice calling your name, don't answer, because the moment you whisper back, it's already too late. Subscribe for more story episodes.